When is judgment and who is judged? To most in our faith, this is a very simple answer and a very quick answer. We look at Revelation 20 and we say, that's it. You've got your first resurrection and your second resurrection. And the people are judged at that time. And on a basic level, that is absolutely correct. But the purpose of this video is that there's actually more than just people being judged. So let's look at things a little bit more in detail. Excuse me. We have Revelation 24, which is the first resurrection. I saw thrones on which were seated those who had been given authority to judge, and I saw the souls of those who had been beheaded because of their testimony about Jesus and because of the word of God. They had not worshipped with the beast or its image, and had not received its mark on their foreheads or their hands. They came to life and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. First resurrection. We've got that. And just to finish up, let me go through the second resurrection. And then I'm going to show a couple issues here. Revelation 20:11, this is the second resurrection. This is the end of the 1,000-year reign. Then I saw a great white throne, and him who was seated on it. The earth and the heavens fled from his presence, and there was no place for them. And I saw the dead, great and small, standing before the throne, and books were opened, and another book was opened, which is a book of life. The dead were judged according to what they had done as recorded in the books. The sea gave up the dead that were in it, and the death and Hades gave up the dead that were in them, and each person was judged according to what they had done. Then death and Hades were thrown into the lake of fire. The lake of fire is the second death. Anyone whose name was not found written in the book of life was thrown into the lake of fire. Those in the first resurrection include those who are killed during the Great Tribulation, and specifically the bowl judgments. These are beheaded for refusal to accept the mark of the beast and their testimony. Again, back to Revelation 24. And we also have, and I'll put up the verse as to when. Again, it says, blessed are they, and we can show that from another verse in Revelation that starts that time. So we know when, you can die in the tribulation, but that doesn't mean that you get into the first resurrection until you meet all the requirements there. You have to die at a certain point in time or later. So basically within the time frame of the bowl judgments, you have to be testifying about Jesus, you have to be beheaded, you have to refuse the mark of the beast. That's the way into the first resurrection. But the purpose of this video was who is judged. Now again, we've already talked about the fact this is when people are judged. There's a clue in Revelation 25. The rest of the dead were not judged for 1,000 years. What about those who are alive who need to be judged? Is there some judgment at that time? Or at a later time involving those who are alive? Now, the first thought process for somebody listening to this is, oh, he's talking about people who haven't died. I'm talking about angels. Let's just be very clear. I'm talking about angels. Are the angels judged? Specifically the fallen angels. Now, before I get to the verse that really adds a lot of clarity to this, let's add one other point. Revelation 19:20. This is when they capture the beast and the false prophet. But the beast was captured, and with it the false prophet who had performed the signs on its behalf. With these signs he had deluded those who had received the mark of the beast and worshipped its image. The two of them were thrown alive into the fiery lake of burning sulfur. Okay. Now, I've built up for this big verse, 2 Peter 2:4. For if God did not spare the angels when they sinned, but sent them to hell, putting them in chains of darkness to be held for judgment, the angels will also be judged. Not all of them, but the fallen angels will be judged. Doesn't appear like there's going to be a good judgment for them either. Now, again, Satan is bound. We have that in Revelation 20. That he is bound for 1,000 years to be released for a short time to persuade the nations to rise up. But we know the beast and the false prophet, they're thrown immediately into hell. Are they judged at that time, at the first resurrection, or are they judged at the second resurrection? I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that they are judged, because 2 Peter tells us they are. And again, it's just an interesting thought process. Now again, the reality is the angels don't die, so they live through eternity. And so they suffer through eternity. Whereas the humans can actually die in hell. The angels can't die. So their issue is an eternal persecution. Again, just a little tidbit to think on.